Welcome aboard, traders, to a new session of charting across the board. Today, Wednesday, November the 12th, nearing the year end in another month. For those who are new, thank you for apologies, my friends. I have a monitor in the background on the other browser. However, for those who are new, welcome aboard. This is Marob6, your host, your harmonic trader, where today we're going to be analyzing the price action on Bitcoin as well as the S&P 500. What they are not telling you, what everyone seems to be telling you, is that we are going to be heading to $1 million on Bitcoin. Let me tell you that this story has been an old book back 10 years ago. However, I'm not disagreeing that this may not be the case in the future. I do believe in cryptocurrencies, mainly blockchain technology, but the hype is real. It has been there. There are members or new opportunities who come into the space only to sell you something. Okay? What we do here is, once again, strictly from a quantitative research from the legends of the past. Of course, we have our community as well, as many do, but our approach has been and will be from an unbiased perspective. We present what the arguments are developing in the price action, mainly the 4-hour and the daily. From a swing trading perspective, long time frames zooming into minor time frames, the 15 minutes, the hourly, and so on. What they're not telling you is that there are levels by levels. There are levels that Bitcoin must first break, print. If we go into a specific of a trend, okay, we can look at two very simple approach when it comes to trading: moving averages. Which one? The 20 or 21 and 55 crossover, as well as the 50 and the 200 on the weekly. Okay, I'm trying to do this in the background, my friends. You guys know that it's not as easy as may seem. Once you're live, you have the monitor, the chart, the sound, the microphone, but we're doing this slightly but surely. In order to understand the trend, which is formed by a lower highs, okay, and lower lows on a downtrend, as well as higher lows and higher highs in an uptrend, there are primary trends, secondary trends, as Charles Dow suggests. Primary trends oftentimes develops on the macro weekly time frame, such as the weekly and the monthly. Okay, these are where the main trend or the main force of the trend will accelerate. Okay, we're still in a bull market, or we have been, in my opinion. Okay, we have been in an uptrend. There is no doubt on the macro. Now, there are key data sets that develops on other time frames that later translate into the macro. Okay, on the macro, since 2022, late October 2022, early 2023, clearly there were signs of an impending bull market. Why? Because the macro was implying that the selling pressure was diminishing. However, now we're here after 3 years. There has been an extreme amount of hype throughout the entire past 2025, where if we look left, market leaf clues, how much higher is Bitcoin currently trading from last year in December 2024? How much higher is S&P trading from December 2024? We are indeed higher on the S&P. Okay, our projection was 6,300. We're currently trading 6,800. What occurred last year? A major decline across the board, 20% on the S&P, and nearly 30% on the Nasdaq. Crypto also suffer from this decline. However, how much higher are we now from last year? Okay, this is telling us something, my friends, that those who have the eyes from true traders are already perceiving. All right, this chart represents the M formation, starting with the chart on BTC. M formation, bullish structure from a downtrend coming from the previous high, 126, the liquidation event to 98. No, I'm sorry, this one was 100,000. Okay, new support. Then we waited for new information to print an M formation, a bullish structure, computing those congregation of ratios from the lows to the highs, back to the lows, back to the highs, and a new low at 98,000. However, it's important to bring the context here that in the space, what we normally see is that we're going to 150, 170 without understanding the structure that starts on the 4-hour or even the daily or even the hourly in this case. Okay? Clearly, if we zoom into the 4-hour, we have been in a downtrend. Okay? We have a high, a low, then a higher high, and a lower low to 98. Recently, this chart corresponds from our recent blog. If you are interested, you can subscribe, you can follow our posts. I will be releasing this every week. Therefore, what is occurring currently on Bitcoin should not be new to you. Why? Let's go into this chart, my friends. If you were following our readings, we printed a post 3 days ago. New lower high or continuation. There are indeed key levels on the weekly where Bitcoin is currently holding still above or now below even. Okay, we close above on the previous weekly session close, but currently we're trading below it. Okay, 102.9 is a key level to hold. Okay, the 50 moving averages. Clearly, throughout time, we have been above, or at least since last year. Okay, the first test 60,000, 59, second test 74. Okay, and now is this time different, my friend? Or we're gonna rip to new highs into the 200,000. Let me explain you something. This one was certainly a key level to monitor. Okay, from there on, we presented our arguments before this decline from 107, I believe. Even we presented a short execution in the W formation. I don't want to talk much about it, but the point here is that the hype, you will see this across the board on Twitter and YouTube potentially, that the calls to 150 and 170 are now 15% lower. Okay? So how do you strategize positions when you hear from someone who have no knowledge in the space? How do you strategize position when you hear someone calling from 150 at 116? Then the prices do the opposite. It goes to 98,000. Okay, along the wave, people will be changing their perspective and projections. Okay? That is the nature of human psychology. However, if you're someone like us in our community, we focus mainly on the rhythm or the rhythm within the cycles. The congregation of ratios that lead us to this M and W formation. This is not my work. These are research from the legends of the past. Gartley later updated the finding, adding the proper identification measures of these harmonic ratios. I then found my edge. However, my weapon, personally, I believe is a CD extension. This is normally where I like to capitalize on those confluences, divergences, and information leading to a W or vice versa. Okay? This chart is an information on Bitcoin, pending formation back then prior to this major decline. However, you're noticing that some in the space are calling for 150 without adapting to new information, without changing their bias. First, bearish, 2022, 2023, 2024, switching slightly to bullish, and now extremely bullish. Surprisingly, the market always teaches us a lesson, okay? So here, now from the information, let's zoom into the hourly. What were our readings from this blog? We mentioned that in this scenario, I am anticipating the development of a W formation, a pending W formation, or a bearish deep crab pattern on the hourly time frame. What occurred? W formation, okay, within the levels of resistance, okay, for this, what was then pending, now manifested, okay. This one was a pending M formation on the 4-hour, okay? Before, at these highs, the same colors, 150, then markets, drops, an expensive lesson, 15%. Of course, in this space, people are using leverage, 150. How much is 150 times 15%? Oops, you're liquidated if you're expecting 150K on BTC, okay? I'm not saying we're not going to go there, but there are levels to levels, my friends. Anyways, here, current price action, pending W formation from the C to the D. This, I believe, is my edge. I developed this throughout the years. It wasn't easy. It's not easy. Why? Because you have competing forces presenting their own arguments. But what matters, as mentioned before, is a capital growth preservation, the positive equity curve that traders deal with, regardless of your account size. We're having a discussion in the trading community that regardless of the account, if you're not able to manage in a small account, you will likely not be able to manage a larger account, okay? So what we do here at marble6.com is we're trying to guide traders from an unbiased perspective. We like to present our ratings that comes from the legends of the past, okay? We do technical analysis through quantitative research. Quantitative, that's a word that comes from quantity. How many data sets are there in the price action that has been back tested, not today's or 2 months, or a month or a year, but hundreds of years. From who? From the researchers of the past. Charles Dow, Gartley, Wyckoff, Gann, Livermore, among other greatest technicians. We therefore apply these ratings into the current information, whether being a new market, such as Bitcoin. They respect over and over. We're trying to find the frequency of the market rhythm. We're not hyping. We're trying to develop traders, develop the mind for unbiased traders who can then focus on what really matters. Risk management. Remove the noise, cut the noise, focus on yourself, and you will grow as a trader. There is a unique feature that many successful traders develop. It is not only on the monetary part, but also as a self-discipline, self-growth. Okay? I believe many of you know that this quality that true traders present, they sound different. Okay? They're not hyping on YouTube. Okay, even though we're doing this also as part of our marketing campaign, but mainly to educate, to present an unbiased approach. One of my goals when I started trading was that I was chasing the key sauce, right? How many times have we thought that we identify the only technical reading that matters when it comes to trading, only to get slapped by the mother market over and over, until we then learn that remaining humble in this business, especially trading, is key, my friends. We're not making goals. We're only following the frequency of the market rhythm. This is an example of Bitcoin. The S&P 500 are not telling you. We're not telling you that we were at resistance last week in October or last month. Okay? What occurred? A decline. Also, a setup within the room. We then achieve all of these levels. Okay? Then, in our room, we presented potentially there was a reading from the W, okay, the previous W formation, achieving all of our targets, to then print was previously also a pending M formation, okay, pending M formation, okay, of the bearish butterfly, to an M formation, now leading from the C to the D, the edge, Marvov's edge, C to the D, and we're finding resistance. I believe we are at an inflection point where the market will again teach many lessons along the way, but that is something that doesn't matter to us. We like to build traders or to educate traders who are serious in this business. This is not gambling unless you approach in that manner. Okay? Pending W formation from an M to a W, this is where we are. Are we going to go much higher? There are readings on the weekly, on the equity index, on S&P 500, as well as the Nasdaq, that we are leaving only to those who are within the key approach, the unbiased approach. I'm letting it see, or letting the market develop their own discipline and see if we are indeed going to respect what is developing on the weekly time frame. We have been once again a major bull market. Okay, this is nothing new to us. You guys know from 2022, we understood that the variables then was presenting a pending ABCD. Okay, don't care about this chart. It can be the case, but let's focus on what occurred here. Okay, the S&P, as many of you know, or those who do not know, our approach from 2022 at these lows was to, guys, we might be seeing an upward traction to the ABCD structure, the reciprocal move of the trend on the primary trend, secondary trend as support before testing the 6100 on the monthly time frame prior to this major decline in the price action. So how much higher are we now from our projection since then? Only 10-12% per se, but we identify this entire move. Okay, 76% to current highs, 95. Of course, here we were cautious. We presented a short execution within our room, 20% decline, and since then I've been personally more cautiously optimistic. Presented trading or trade setups along the wave, which, by the way, none of these represent, how can I forget, financial advice, closure, disclaimer. Do your own research when it comes to trading. Okay? So now, how much higher can we go? We don't care. We like to monitor the readings on the 4-hour, on the daily time frame. Okay? We presented all of our readings, and therefore we're moving accordingly. We do know the levels on Bitcoin towards the downside. Okay. However, if certain patterns are underperforming, giving the current trend, that should give you an idea as to what is currently developing in the price action. Cut the noise, focus on yourself, find those M&Ws or any strategy that you may use, develop your edge, and cut the noise. Everyone, I love you all. I respect every one of you. Thank you for joining marvelop6.com. Okay? Here, what we do is to follow the frequency of the market rhythm from like-minded individuals. Okay, we like to navigate the chart from an objective manner. If you're interested, join us today, get started, click join our Discord. We have nearly 200 members, 188 members total, okay? And these are members that, in my opinion, I am very proud that each of these members are coming from a selective mindset. They're not all chasing the big numbers, the $1 million on BTC. These are objective traders who, like us, who like you, it's time to change and take this seriously. Everyone, I'll see you guys on the next one. And remember, cut the noise. The S&P 500 is currently trading from an M to a W, current information. In the same manner, Bitcoin still within turbulences areas. We are in a range where this chop land or chop fest may last until this week. Okay, we're within this region. There has been opportunities, of course, but pay attention to what this downtrend is implying until, of course, piercing through the previous high and the trend dictates otherwise. Everyone, thank you for being here once again. This is Marvelop6. I hope you are transitioning from an amateur trader to someone who's taking this more seriously. I'll see you guys on the next one. And remember to live a life with an attitude of gratitude. Cheers.